Hello and welcome back. Today I want to take a closer look at this new Sculk sensors with you that have been added yesterday in the new snapshot 20W49A. And as you could already see, the special thing about those new components is that they can detect certain events. So as I already said yesterday in my new video, if you for example jump, it can detect that, and it can also detect you walking. It can detect if you place a block, if you break it, and many other events that can be detected with this new block now. And it can detect those events in a sphere around it with a radius of 8 blocks. So anywhere in this sphere here, if I place a block, it can detect it. Maybe I'll add a lamp here as well so it's easier to see. Anywhere in this sphere, if I add a block or cause any other event here, it can detect that. Outside of this, it doesn't detect anything. And the best thing about this new component is that it can detect different values depending on what happens. If you read a redstone signal out with a comparator, you can differentiate between different events. For example, if I drop an item here, we get a signal strength of 5. And that's always the same. So every time that item hits the ground, we get a signal strength of 5. Also, if I jump, that gives a different signal strength. Well, actually, that's the same signal strength. So there are different events that can have the same signal strength. That's actually a good example. But for example, if I walk, that only gives a signal strength of 1. Every time I walk here and it detects that, we get a signal strength of 1 here out of this comparator. But you can also take a redstone signal directly out of the Sculk sensor here. And this one is dependent on the distance of the event to the Sculk sensor. So for example, if I place a block very far on the edge of the circle, we only get a signal strength of 2. And if I place it very close, then we get signal strength of 14. The highest this signal strength can go up to is obviously 15, and that would be if the event happens in the same block as the Sculk sensor. So the item dropped on top of the Sculk sensor and that's in the same block as the Sculk sensor itself. So then I came up with this little circuit here, which allows you to only react on certain events. So for example, stepping around, we said earlier, gives off a signal strength of 1 if you read it out with a comparator, which we're doing here. And this circuit only allows those certain events with certain signal strengths to pass through an redstone output to this lamp. So if I walk here, we get an output. And if I fall down, which gives a signal strength of 5, we don't get an output here. So this is a very simple circuit, quite small, only 3x3 blocks, and you can set the event you want to listen to with this dropper here. So depending on what event is important to you, you need to fill this dropper with a certain amount of items. So now it's configured for steps, which gives a signal strength of 1. And you always need the dropper to give out a signal strength 1 less than what you want. So we want signal strength 1, so we need the dropper to give off a signal strength of 0, so no items in it. Now it only reacts to steps. If you want to react it to us falling down, which gives off a signal strength of 5, we need items in here that give out a signal strength of 4. If we hit F3 and look at the dust, here on the side you can see power 0. We need that to equal the number 4. So now we have it. 2 stacks of items. Could also use 2 non-stackable items that would be cheaper, 2 wooden shovels for example. That would be the cheapest for this to work. Now this comparator is turned on. And if we fall down now, I think that got detected as stepping. Wait, let me try again. Yeah, there we go. Now I got an output. Sometimes it happens if you fall down and walk at the same time that it gets detected as stepping instead of falling. But now if we fall down, we get an output, and if we walk, we don't get an output. And this way you can, modify the circuit by adding items here to only give an output to whatever event you need. I also made a little bit simpler circuit here to if you only want to react to events that give out a signal strength 1. So you don't need this comparator and this dropper here if you only want to give it an output if you get a signal strength of 1. So stepping gives a signal strength of 1. We get an output here, but we don't get an output for anything else. If I fall down here again, we don't get an output. So that's just a little bit simpler version of this one if you want to only react to events that give out a signal strength of 1. In the video description there is a list of all the events that are currently in the game, but remember we are still in the snapshots, so that will very likely change. I will, however, keep that list updated to the current state in the newest snapshot or version once 1.17 gets released. I also will put the number of items that you need in this dropper if you want to react to that certain event. So I really hope you enjoyed. Hopefully this was helpful to you if you want to create some contraption with Sculks, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!